my name is Dave Ramsay. I am a continuous improvement manager working for Holland and Barrett, where I've been for almost the last 2 years. I was first introduced early in 2018 and I enrolled on my level 3 improvement technician apprenticeship at that time. So I worked for Wilko back then. I'd done 16 years in total at Wilko, and I'd moved into our head office on a secondment, and the head of our department had enrolled a few of us on the improvement technician apprenticeship. So I got all giddy and excited hearing the words yellow belt, thinking, oh, what does this mean? And actually, looking back, it was probably one of the best things I ever did. Ultimately, it's the career that I've the path that I've followed. But it was the first time I really understood that, because my background is store management in retail, and this was the first time I'd kind of been out into the big wide world, if you like, and outside of those four walls. And I realised that actually I could have such a bigger part, in the business and support my colleagues in store, but also colleagues in our distribution centre and, in our head offices. I'll be honest, I was really nervous to start with. So when I got to the end of my level 3 programme, there was a level 5 programme starting pretty much straight afterwards. I think I had about a 4-week gap. The knowledge gap between level 3 and level 4 was going to be too small. So, going from level 3 straight to level 5 was the right thing to do. But there was definitely some imposter syndrome feelings going on, especially because our level 5 course was hosted at Toyota. We had all these people that were living and breathing continuous improvement. The culture that you were learning in and around, just was pure CI through and through. I think what I found quite quickly was, even though I considered myself to be fairly new, because, certainly within CI terms, because I was doing that job day in, day out. By this point, I'd been promoted to be a CI manager in Wilko. And you start to realise that actually, we're all kind of doing the same thing. We're just maybe looking at it in a different way. I'll be looking at it from a retail stroke service lens. Some of the other guys would be looking at it from a manufacturing stroke automotive lens. But ultimately, we're using the same tools for the same reasons. And sharing those practices was honestly, the experience throughout the level 5 program was second to none. I left a bit of a longer gap between level 5 and level 6, purposely as well. I wanted to really embed the things that I'd learned. I wanted to make sure that actually the tools that I'd learned, I was able to then not only put them into practice myself, but also support level 3, level 4 delegates, and coach them through their improvement projects and activities. So then when I moved to Holland and Barrett in December 2022, one of the things that I'd said to my boss when I joined was, I feel like I'm ready, to now move on and do the level 6 program. So I started that in July last year. Absolutely. I think, and it's funny actually, because I was talking to some colleagues a couple of days ago. We're doing some kind of training at work at the moment, and we'd recently covered a different kind of look at how you apply affinity mapping. And, historically, we'd always talked about affinity mapping, then using kind of multi-voting. But actually, looking at it from more of a strategic viewpoint, and actually not just looking at where the pain is, but where the underlying causes of that pain are coming from, certainly from a strategic level, has been the biggest eye-opener, I suppose, more than anything. Level 6 so far has certainly taught me that, it's important to take that step back sometimes and look at the bigger picture. Level 6 does seem that step on where the tools necessarily aren't significantly different. We're still talking the same language, but actually the application, the way that you look at it, the way that you approach CI as a subject, especially with senior leaders in the business, is definitely a big step on. But at the time that I was doing my level 5 program, I was working at Wilco at the time. We were running a program called Retail Efficiencies, where we were really looking at how we could support our team members out in store by trying to improve processes, make their job a little bit more efficient, just take some of the noise away for them. And I remember working with our health and safety and our legal teams, looking at the number of health and safety checks that we did in stores. But actually, that was that's probably one of the pieces of work I'm most proud of, because of the subject. It was a sensitive subject. But I took that through, the DMAIC methodology, really engaged with our legal teams, more than our health and safety teams. They were quite open. The legal teams, naturally, that they would have to defend anything in court if anything ever came to that. And I remember doing a DOE, a design of experiment, that looked at all the different factors that we had from historical data, from accidents, from near misses, the areas in store that these things happened, the time of day, and could use the DOE to basically showcase when the most important times were to do health and safety checks, and then the times that we were actually, a lot less risk, that the time was a lot less risk. And from that, we managed to use the data. It was all data from what we'd gathered over the last few years, to then showcase where this lower level of risk was. But ultimately, we managed to remove 2 checks, one from the beginning and one from the end of the day. And it was a staggering amount of retail payroll that it attributed to. We're talking over £1 million, which was huge in itself. The stores probably wouldn't feel that from a payroll point of view, but what they would feel was the fact that they're not spending all this time doing checks of 3 different areas of a store at the beginning of the day, when their focus should naturally be on being ready to open the doors for customers, and at the end of the day, making sure that actually the store's in a good place for us to close, ready to hand over to the teams in the evening to replenish and get ready again for the following day. So that one really stands out for me. Firstly, what I would say is the time goes very, very quickly. I'm a year into my level 6 program already, and I honestly couldn't tell you where that year's gone. For me, it comes down to one key thing, I suppose. This is professional development, and improvement is my chosen career path. I'm lucky in the fact that I've had 2 great employers that have supported that journey. Holland and Barrett, especially, for the fact that 6 months into starting, they were promoting the opportunity for me to go on to Master Black Belt, the level 6 program. Because I think what good leaders and good companies see is that actually investing in people, investing in their development is great for the business. And I think that's probably the first bit. In terms of time, I think people get hung up on probably one key area of an apprenticeship, and that is this myth of off-the-job training, and people thinking, oh my word, I've got to spend loads of my own time doing all this learning. And it's not at all. It's about the time within your working week that you then attribute to your learning. Now, that could be in some of the actual learning calls themselves. It could be some, professional development that you undertake yourself. Or it could actually be some of the stuff that you're doing as part of your day job. And I think this is where, there's a big learning curve for a lot of people that are new to apprenticeships. Those that have been on it, kind of get into the groove quite quickly. But actually this myth that you lose a day a week, and, that there's this, that we do quite a lot of work with line managers, especially to really bust that myth in the fact that they're going to lose their colleague for a day a week. That's not the case whatsoever. Yes, we have to evidence time that we spend, to show that actually the apprenticeship levy money is being invested in the right way. But for a lot of people, that's part and parcel of what you do in your day job. It's, oh my word, what do I use this week to put into my timesheet, rather than I've got to try and find something. So that's probably the biggest thing. There's three people really that have been the biggest influences on my kind of career path, my journey, if you like. The first one is a lady called Lisa Widdowson, and Lisa is our department director now at Holland and Barrett. However, Lisa was my head of department when I was at Wilco, who first signed me up to the level 3 program. And I think without Lisa, would I be sat here doing this today? I'm not sure. The other one is a lady called Helen Bliss, who was our head of CI when I was at Wilco. And Helen was just pure inspiration through and through. We had a line manager, and Helen was our head of department, but she would regularly make time for one-to-ones with each of us. And she was interested in us. And for me, that made a massive difference. She had a real kind of unique way of approaching improvement, but also giving you the space and the ability to learn and develop as individuals. And then the final one has to be my line manager now, Sarah Cook, who's our head of CI at Holland and Barrett. We've worked together for almost 2 years now. And I can honestly say, that by far, from a line manager point of view, she's the best line manager I've ever worked for. And I'm not just saying that because she's my line manager now either. The opportunities that she gives me, the ability to kind of put my ideas into practice, the debates that we'll have to make sure that we come out with the right, call for Holland and Barrett. All of those things make such a difference. But for me, the support that she's given me to go on to my Master Black Belt Level 6 program, and not only kind of get through it, but I set myself quite challenging targets. I don't want to come on to just get through. I want to come on to be the best that I can possibly be. And Sarah absolutely facilitates that without a doubt. So yeah, all three of those have played huge parts in me getting to where I am today.